sessions. Now, please join me in extending a warm welcome to Mr. Nathan Gold. He is a renowned San Francisco demo coach specializing in transforming individuals worldwide for high stakes communication, including tech talks, Shark Tank appearances, investor pitches, and job interviews. With positions at UC Berkeley and Hong Kong Baptist University, a two-time Demo God Award winner, he is your go-to expert for maximizing high-stakes speaking opportunities and product demonstration. Let's welcome Mr. Nathan. Hi, Nathan. Welcome to the webinar, and
Thank
the
you.
stage is all yours now.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate the introduction and the opportunity to share some good things with this fine audience of yours. So very much appreciate the opportunity to share some of my wisdom over the last 4 decades of being in business. And the number of times I've been in front of hiring managers, probably on the order of a dozen times. So I know what it feels like, and I've been there and I've done that. And I've also coached people over the last 15 years of doing coaching on how to handle a high stakes situation, such as, wait for it, a job interview. That's probably one of the highest stakes opportunities we ever get to have, short of walking onto a TED stage. So in the brief 20 minutes that I have to talk to you before I take questions and perhaps maybe even meet you in the lounge, I thought I would start with just a few tips that I feel are the most important things to consider when you're interviewing for a job. First thing is, and some of what I'm going to say probably you haven't heard before. Trust me. So first thing is, your hiring manager, whether it's the person you're going to be working for or the HR department, they all make a decision within the first 5 to 10 seconds of meeting you, whether online or in person. They already decided if they want to hire you. That fast. Now, I know that might sound really weird, but we all as humans make snap decisions about whether we like someone or not on site, even before they start speaking, on site. So as the hiring manager is walking towards you, where you're sitting and waiting for somebody to come over and say, Nathan Gold, could you please come with me? And you stand up, boom, they've already made a decision in their mind, snap decision. Do they like you? Now, it's up to you to validate or invalidate those feelings during the interview. So every question you get, everything you say is either adding to that likability and that, hey, I want to hire you kind of a feeling, or your answers are going to invalidate that feeling and give them reason to say no. So please make sure you realize that whatever you're doing in those first few seconds, when they set eyes on you, it's your best. You want to look your best. You want to have the best posture. You want to have a smile on your face, and you want to be happy, excited, or whatever frame of mind you want to be in so that you show off your best self. Okay? So let's just start right there. The next thing I would like to talk to you about is, I guess I would call it the 5 toughest questions you will ever get in an interview. And I'm betting that 4 of these you have not heard before. Let me go a little bit lighter. How about 3 out of 5 of these you've never heard before? And they will come up. Ready? Question number 1. You're sitting there with the hiring manager, and they're looking at you and they say, before we get into the interview, I'm just curious, Nathan, what do you know about our company? And they literally stop talking. What do you know about our company? Now, we are in 2024, folks. If you haven't already done your homework and searched and looked at their website and contacted people that have been working there, or anything you can do to find out as much as you can about that company, you come unprepared. If you cannot answer that question really fast and with a bunch of good stuff, you've already lost. And by the way, these first two questions come from hiring managers that I have known over my lifetime. And they use these two questions because they don't want to waste your time and they don't want to waste their time. So if you go to an interview and you don't know about the company that you're interviewing with, you're out. Done. Forget it. The answer is no. The interview will be cut short, more than likely. Anyway, there's a good chance it'll be cut short. So the second question, and this is a hard one, and most people are not prepared for this one. Ready? Nathan, I'm just curious, what do you know about me? And they stop talking. And with LinkedIn as the #1 resource for finding out about people's business lives, if you haven't spent a little bit of time there looking at the hiring manager's background, their interests, their hobbies, their posts, or anything else that they've done, guess what? Say it with me. You're out. It's over. Those are two very difficult questions if you haven't prepared. And it's your responsibility to prepare. People who are hiring are looking for people who are prepared, who are ready, who are going to surprise them. And that's your job, is to surprise people. Have a lot of information you can tell them about the company. Maybe not the numbers and the quarterly revenues and things like that, but things that you've discovered, things that you've learned. And they all know, all your hiring managers know that you're going to be searching on the internet to find out about the job, the company, the people, and so forth. So please be very prepared for these two questions. Number 3, this is going to surprise many of you. Because when I tell people this, they all like, what? Are you kidding me? All right, you ready? Here it is. Okay, Nathan, I got a really fun question for you, and I always love to hear how people answer this question. What have you done with AI? And they just sit back and wait for you to talk. Now, I hope you don't get scared at that question, because ChatGPT and other things like it have been out for a year and a half now. So if you haven't been playing with ChatGPT or anything like it, experimenting with it, toying with it, using it for real work, you're out. You're out. You won't make it through the interview. So it's important that if you have not spent much time playing with ChatGPT, I cannot tell you how important it is for you to start playing with ChatGPT. 3.5 is free. There's absolutely no excuse why you should not be using it. Why? Because it can be used in so many ways. It took me a couple of days when it first came out to figure out the power behind what a ChatGPT product can do for people like you and me. The main thing it does for me is it breaks through the creativity block. It lets me do things so much faster because when I need to be creative, like come up with a title for a workshop, come up with a subject line for an email that's persuasive and compelling and powerful. How about a short, concise body of your email instead of me? I'm way too verbose. I use way too many words to say what I want to say. And as you know, people don't like to read a bunch of words. They need short, concise information. So if you ask me, what do I use AI for? Well, I use it for dozens of things for myself and my clients. But if I was in an interview, I would say, oh, my goodness, I would use that as an example. Well, I use it for doing emails. In fact, I used it to create the cover letter that I used to get into this job. It gave me about 90% of what I included, and then I tweaked it with my own words to make it sound more like me. That's one example of using AI. Use ChatGPT to create compelling, powerful, and persuasive cover letters. How about a 50-word description of who you are? How about your LinkedIn profile? Have you gone to your LinkedIn profile and taken whatever you've written in the about section take that, copy it to the clipboard, go to ChatGPT and say, make this more persuasive, compelling, and concise. And then paste in whatever you have put in your LinkedIn profile now and see what it comes back with. If it doesn't sound like you, the way you like to speak, well, then you probably missed a prompt. If you want the results of GPT to sound like you, then you have to just simply say, keep my tone of voice. So when I write a body of an email, I paste it into my chat and I say, keep my tone of voice and make this more concise and persuasive. And boom, it's done in seconds. There's dozens and dozens of other things that you can do with ChatGPT just with text. Forget about pictures, forget about video, forget about all that other stuff. Just please, I implore you, when you go to your job interviews, be prepared to describe and share what you've been doing with ChatGPT or anything like it. Do you think I feel pretty persuasive about that? It's so powerful, and it's only getting more and more and more powerful. So if you're not on that bandwagon, it's time to get on. Question number 4. This is a hard one. You will get this question quite often, and maybe you've already heard this question, but the question is, hey, Nathan, really cool stuff. I love all of the successes you've talked about and the projects and what, but I'm curious, what are some of your weaknesses? Most of us bridle when we hear that question because, well, we don't want to talk about our weaknesses, or we may feel like we don't have any weaknesses. That's the wrong attitude. Wrong attitude. In my opinion, it's just my opinion, when someone asks you about your weaknesses, be a little honest. When people ask me, what are my weaknesses? I have a real weakness when meetings start late and people are late. I just have a real problem with that. I get frustrated. I get anxiety when people are not starting meetings on time. And I know it's not my problem that it's not starting on time very often, but I grew up in a house where my mom told me, if you are going to be late, you either call or don't come home. So I always called because I always wanted to go home. So I know being on time is a very important thing in my life. And I also know that most audiences want things to start on time too. So I tell people one of my weaknesses is starting late, being late. I just have a very short fuse when people are late and there's no good reason why they're late. And another weakness I have is I don't like excuses. I try not to use excuses myself. I try to be honest and authentic. And when other people use excuses, it drives me crazy. Those are my weaknesses. Okay, so make them about you and make them powerful and compelling, hopefully like those 2 weaknesses or something like that. Number 5. This is probably the toughest question you will ever get. And I want to implore you to, when you come up with the answer to this question, try not to say anything you've already said in the interview. Ready? This question normally comes in at the end of an interview. When I've talked to people and they tell me they got this question, when does it usually come in? It's usually towards the end. Hey, Nathan, thanks so much for coming in today and giving us all this wonderful data about you and all the stories. I have one final question for you. Why should we hire you? Why should we hire you? Now, this is not really a trick question, but it really is a question that gives you a chance to share something with that hiring manager that you have not said yet. You don't want to say, well, I said this and this because of that, because of that, because of that. It's not about what you've done at that point. This is a question that I believe you need to handle gently and with poise. My favorite way to answer this question is to start the answer with something like this. Well, Nathan, thank you for asking me that question. That's a tough question. Truth is, I don't know if you should hire me because I don't know who the other candidates are that you've interviewed. But here's what I can tell you. When you get to my name, as you look at all the people interviewing for this job, I hope at that moment you'll remember that I'm the person that will coach all of the people on your team to perform as if they were in a Broadway show. So that's for me being a speaker coach. If I was going to work for a company, I would coach people on how to present and how to speak and so forth. So I would say something like that at the end. And as you notice, what I used there was a simile or an analogy or a metaphor to illustrate my superpower without calling it my superpower necessarily. If you want to call it your superpower, go ahead. You can say, well, I'm not so sure you should hire me, but if you put my name in the top 3, here's one thing you can count on me that I haven't shared with you yet. My superpower is getting stuff done. When you need something done, you can count on me. You just give me the date, the time you need it done, and I will get it done for you. I am very resourceful, and I will not bother you unless I have a question about the outcome you expect. Okay? So please be prepared for these 5 questions. What do you know about our company? What do you know about me? What have you done with AI? What are some of your weaknesses? And why should we hire you? Those are tough questions. All the other ones to me are kind of softball questions. Tell me about yourself. Tell me about a time in your career when you blah, blah, with this or that. Those are all kind of easy questions. So in the 4 minutes that I have remaining, I have a couple more things I want to just share with you. And that is, I've noticed in this day of remote work that some people in virtual interviews are making significant mistakes when they show up on camera. So I'm in a professional studio here. So I have lights on me. I have lights on my green screen. I've got a virtual background. I've got my logo. Got my logo over here. I've got the bug above my head. It all looks cool because this is my life and this is what I do every day. Most of you probably are going to be in an office, or you're going to be in a bedroom, or someplace where you'll have a bookshelf behind you, which is fine. But there's a couple of things that I want to make sure you understand that you're making a mistake when you present or communicate over the camera. And this goes for whether you do it live or whether you record yourself and turn in a video of you answering some questions that the hiring managers will watch and then invite you in for maybe a live interview. The first and most important thing you must make sure of in this virtual world is that your sound quality is top notch. If you don't sound like you're on the radio, hopefully I sound like I'm on the radio. I have a very expensive mic in front of me, but that's my business. You don't need a very expensive microphone to sound like you're on the radio. A good little lapel mic that's clipped to your shirt can make you sound better than the microphones we have on our computers, especially the little pinhole microphone down in the corner of a laptop. It doesn't make you sound good. And if the microphone doesn't make you sound like you're on the radio, you're missing out on one of the easiest things you can do to come across as more compelling, more persuasive, and even more authentic. You know, one of the biggest challenges with presenting over a camera is the camera literally sucks the energy out of you, the presenter, the communicator. It sucks the energy out. Why? Because you're talking to a camera and it's like a dead thing. It's not a person, it's a camera, and it's hard work. But you need to control where you're looking and how you sound. So make sure your sound quality is top notch. And the second thing, the second biggest mistake that people are making in this virtual world is they're not doing what I'm doing with you right now. I'm looking at you right now, aren't I? But I'm not looking at you on the screen. Even though this is a webinar, if it was a meeting with all 50 of you in the meeting, I could look over at the screen and see all of you on the screen like this. But that's not making eye contact with the hiring manager, is it? you must look into the camera lens. That is the only way to make eye contact in the virtual world. And if you're recording a video to turn in, you must, did I say must? Look into the camera lens, because the trick there is you're doing something you can't do in person. In person, if you had 3 people in a room, you can only make eye contact with one person at a time, right? Sincere eye contact. In the virtual world, if you have 3 people online and they're on 3 different locations, and you look into the camera the way I'm looking into my camera right now, you'll be making eye contact with everyone on the line. So if all 500 people on this call right now were in this webinar and I was doing what I'm doing right now, every single one of them would think, wow, he's looking right at me. And I am looking at you, because the camera is my friend. I love my camera, but I had media training early in my career, so I developed an affinity for working with the camera. You can too, because we spend so much time in front of our cameras, especially as you continue working in a hybrid environment where you'll do things in person and you'll do things over video, and you'll use video to communicate with other people asynchronously more and more and more as we go forward. There is one tool I would like all of you to look up as a way for you to make yourselves look a little better when you show up on camera. It's a free product. I don't use it anymore, but I did use it in the early days of wanting to control my screen a little bit. And when I say control, I mean things like the logo that I have over here that's in front of me. It's not behind me. Or my bug that I have above me here that's in front of me, not behind me, like many virtual backgrounds look. So the product I'd like you to look up is called Camo 2, CAMO 2. It's free, and it works on Android, it works on iOS, it works on Mac, it works on PC, and it will let you basically take control of your camera, whatever camera you're using, the built-in camera to your laptops or an external camera, any camera. And it also lets you do something very important. If your web camera is not a really good one, and I get that, as students, you might not have a lot of money to spend on a webcam, you've already spent the money on the best webcam on the planet. You can use your smartphone as a webcam. Camo 2 will let you use your smartphone as a webcam. And when you use your smartphone, you will look good because your smartphone has a real camera in it. It knows what depth of field is all about, and you'll look much better. So if you combine Camo 2 with your smartphone, you don't have to buy a new webcam. Okay, so that is what I wanted to share about what to do in this age of remote work. Let me check. I am over time, so I'm going to stop right there and say thank you so much for giving me 20 minutes of your time to share some of the real tips, and I call them nuggets because we can talk about this stuff for probably a whole week. But I would like to say thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I hope I've provided some solid nourishment, no empty calories here, and I look forward to meeting you at the tables. Thank you. Take care. Stay safe. Test negative and be positive.
Thanks so much, Nathan. Your explanation was very clear, and I'm sure every audience here has now discovered a clear pathway to prepare themselves for the dream job. And
Thank you.
guys, if you want to connect with Nathan, he'll be at his table in the lounge area. And yes, please stay tuned for our next sessions. Thank you for joining